Hello and welcome to another video. So in this video, I would like to showcase a little difference between the Maya and Blender workflow for IK handles, inverse kinematics. So here I have the Maya viewport, and in order to create an IK handle, you need to draw a joint. So I will go to the side view, like so, and let's create a joint by going to the rigging menu in the skeleton, create joint. So I'm going to set the option. Let's reset everything and let's create the joint. So basically, to draw a joint in Maya, you just click with the left mouse button. So holding X on my keyboard, I can do a grid snap. So I can snap it like so, and just create a leg joint like that. So it's very intuitive with the Maya. Basically, you can draw the joint in the viewport like so. Very easy, right? So in order to do the same thing in Blender, let me go ahead into the Blender window. So here is the Blender window. Let's go ahead and delete this. I will need to go to the side view. Let's go to the side view real quickly. Okay, I'm going to create the joint. So basically, joint in Blender, it's a different term. It's called armature, and you can add it from here. Okay, or you can Shift A on your keyboard to add an armature. So when you add an armature, it basically adds a joint like that, basically an armature. Okay, so in order to edit it, you need to go to the edit mode. In this option, you can go to the edit mode or hit tab on your keyboard in order to switch between the edit mode and the object mode. Okay, so in the edit mode, you can now go ahead and place the joint. So in order to add another joint, I'll need to hit E on a keyboard, selecting the end joint, end bone, and then you can add this joint. So this is how you draw a joint in Blender. Okay, so inside of Maya, it's pretty straightforward. You just draw by selecting a joint and quickly just go ahead and draw. There you have it. So it already creates a hierarchy like that for the joint. Okay, so in the Blender window, it's a little different approach. So you just extrude the joint and go ahead and create this like so. So I'm just going to delete this joint real quickly, this armature, and I'm going to create a new one. Add, like so, the leg. I need to be in the edit mode in order to edit it. Let's go ahead and increase the size. So I'm going to select the end joint and hit G on my keyboard to move it, and I'm going to move it in the G coordinate. So G on the keyboard. Let's go ahead and add that like so. Now I need to create a hip joint, a knee joint, and an ankle joint. Let's imagine that. Okay, that's something that I've done in the Maya window as well. So this is the leg, the knee, and the ankle. Okay, so in order to do the same thing in Blender, let's go ahead and first of all, let's flip this joint. So I need to select the joint, in this case the armature bone, and Alt F to flip the bone. Okay, this is pretty handy. Blender is more focused on keyboard shortcuts. Okay, you can flip the bone like that, Alt F on the keyboard to flip it. And in order to add a joint in here, you can either extrude from here by hitting E on the keyboard like so, or you could do is just right click on it and subdivide it. Okay, so you can see I can increase the subdivision as many joints as you want. So there you have it. Pretty handy, right? So let me go ahead and subdivide it real quickly. Right click, subdivide. And this little joint in the middle, I'm going to move it, okay, in the Y coordinate. So hitting Y on the keyboard, let's go ahead and try to move that. I'm going to select the end joint, hit E in the extrude, and try to move it again in the Y coordinate. So there you have it. In the edit mode, that's how you go ahead and create the joints. Okay, now in the object mode, you can see we have a joint. This is how it looks like in the scene. Okay, there is the bone, and this is the hierarchy that we have for the bone. If you take a look at this in the Maya, you can see joint 1, 2, 3. This is the hierarchy of the joints, right? Let's go back to Blender. Okay, now the next thing that we can do is in the pose mode, you can actually go ahead and start posing this character, right? So you can rotate. So you can rotate through the joints, you can scale it, and you can also move it with the pose tool. So this is basically now behaving in a pretty much FK manner or forward kinematics. So in the Maya, basically there is no such thing as object, pose, or edit mode. It's basically all in there. So if you just go ahead and rotate it, you can rotate the bone. You can also move it and scale it like so. Now, in order to create an IK handle in Maya, what we need to do is go to the skeleton, IK handle, and create an IK handle. So the IK handle will be driven from the root position to a child position, and we can define that by selecting the IK handle of choice and just go ahead and create it from this head position, that is the hip position, and to the ankle position. So you can see the IK handle has been created in the viewport, and it has all these attributes. So basically, if you select this IK handle, you can now go ahead and move this. Okay, let me change the color of the viewport so you can see it like so. There you have it. That's how the IK handle works. Now let's do the same thing in Blender. Now in Blender, it's very different. IK handles are constraints. Okay, it's related as constraints. You don't go ahead and create an IK handle by dragging the bones. Okay, so in order to create an IK handle, you need to first of all create a parent object. In this case, an extra bone. In the edit mode, I'm going to extrude the joint by hitting E on the keyboard, and let's go ahead and extrude that in the Y coordinate. Okay, and at the moment this bone is parented to this, right? So if you go ahead to the pose mode and try to move it, you can see that it's going to follow the movement of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this. Okay, I'm going to right click on this and unparent it. Okay, let's clear that. You can also hit Alt P on your keyboard. Let's clear the parent, and that way you can see now it's not connected at all. Now this one, I'm going to make it like a parent for the IK handle to work. So in order to create the IK constraint, I need to be outside of the edit mode. I need to be in the pose mode. Okay, this is where we create the IK handle constraint, that is, and select the bone, which is going to be our driver, or in other words the parent, and then shift select the child, in this case the knee bone, and let's create a constraint, the IK handle. So Control Shift C in the keyboard, and you can see we can have all these constraints. Okay, so if we take a look at this in Maya, basically the constraints, they have these options, right? Parent, point, orient. It's the same thing in the Blender as well, but we do not see like IK handle. IK handle is a separate menu altogether, right? It's located differently. So in the Blender, if I hit Control Shift C, so once again select the parent and the child, Control Shift C, and then you go ahead and create the IK handle. So in this case, the inverse kinematics. There you have it. So now you can see that it creates an IK handle. There you go. That's how different it is in Blender and Maya. So in order for this to work, let me go ahead and move this. So you can see now the IK handle is being affected. So one really cool thing about Blender is that you can control this IK handle constraint, okay, to affect how many, the chain length. Basically, if I change it to 1, that means that this bone is only going to rotate. It's not going to affect the other bone, only 1. See? And if I change this to 2, then it's going to affect this bone as well. So this goes up the hierarchy, and this basically depends on how many chain length you want. Now in order to do the same thing in Maya, you can see we don't have that option. If you go to the attribute editor, Control A on the keyboard, you can see that there are stuff like priorities, weight, but we don't have the option to control how many joints are being affected. So this is really handy. For instance, let's go ahead and create a joint, multiple joint. Let's go ahead and create something like this, right? Or let's say let's create a joint which have multiple bone, like so. Now if I go ahead and create the IK handle here, from here to this one, if I move this, you can see it's only affecting a single joint in the iteration, right? In the joint chain, it's only affecting the single joint. It's not doing anything on the other one. So this is really, something that has to do with the priority of the joint rotation. So in order to get all of these joints moving, either I need to create another hidden IK handle. In this case, let me go ahead and duplicate this, Control D, and that hidden IK handle is basically inside the plugin manager. It's called the spring. IK solver, and you need to activate it like so, and also activate in the mail IK spring solver and hit enter. And then you will have a new option in the IK handle menu called the spring solver. So you can see now when I create this gives us the ability to move the entire joint chain. It's like so. So it's a difference. There is two different kind of IK handle, right? Now, same thing in Blender. If I just go ahead and delete everything, and let's create a joint. Okay, Shift A to create an armature. All right, I'm going to go to the edit mode. Okay, let's flip this, Alt F, and let's move this. Okay, let me add some joints. Let's go ahead to extrude E. Okay, extrude E and extrude E. All right, now I need to create that constraint. So in order to do this, I need to create a separate joint to be the parent object. So let's hit E like so, and I'm going to unparent it to clear the parent. There you have it. Now in the pose editor, I'm going to create the IK handle. So select the parent, select the child, and create the constraint, Control Shift C, and there is the inverse kinematics. So you can see now that it's affecting the entire joint chain, right? So if I try to move it, you can see there you have the IK handle. It's behaving just like the rotate plane IK handle that we have in Maya. So if you take a look at inside the Maya, you can see this is how it's behaving at the moment, right? Something that I can do is change the constraints parameters. Like I can have the joints set to 2 in the chain length, and it's only going to affect these 2. See that? And if I change this to, let's say, 3, then it's only going to affect this chain like so. This is really cool because this is something that separates Blender from Maya, right? You have that minute control over the constraint behavior, and this is something like a quirk of Blender, I would say, because the IK handle itself is a constraint, and like a constraint you can control the influence, so you can control like the chain length and features like that. So for this case, let me go ahead and change this to 4, and now it's affecting the entire joint chain like that. You can see like so. Pretty cool, right? So for instance, it's like a multi-chain IK handle that we see in the Maya. Okay, once again, which is something that is hidden inside of the plugin manager. There are, you will be surprised to know that there are different kinds of IK handles inside of Maya. The spring solvers, the rotate plane, the multi-chain, the 2-bone solvers, all of them are hidden inside. But anyhow, that's the difference. That's the difference how you create a joint, how you create an IK handle within the Blender and Maya software. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.